is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
I don't think Lane is really interested in leaving Ole Miss. I think Lane wants to stay in Ole Miss. I think Lane wants to stay in the SEC. I think Lane wants to take on Nick Saban. I think he wants to beat Nick Saban because that's who he is. Plus, Ole Miss is going to spend, through the roof for him. They've proven that they'll spend to do anything to win in that school. Okay, that's been proven over and over and over again with Ole Miss. So they have already proven they have better resources than the University of Miami on a consistent basis, and Lane knows that. Now, let me also remind you of this. Lane Kiffin left Tennessee, and it was a bad move for him at that moment. It was a bad look. You can't go to Ole Miss and then leave another SEC school after 2 years. And because you did the same thing at Tennessee. And if you're the University of Miami, let me put it this way. Okay? And I'm sorry if I may insult some of you out there because you might be living this lifestyle and maybe it worked out for you. But I think a lot of times it's probably not a good thing. But let's just say you met your significant other when they were actually in a relationship. Okay? Not really the way you want to start a relationship. That you meet somebody that was with somebody else and then they left that person to go with you. And in that scenario, I would imagine, it's only human nature, it's got to be in the back of your mind, well, he or she left them for me. Why wouldn't they leave me for somebody else, right? And so Lane Kiffin, at one point or another, has to settle down. And whether it's USC or Tennessee or FAU, and now you're at Ole Miss, you kind of have to sell to people that you're ready to settle down and be taken seriously. If you leave Ole Miss to go to the University of Miami, you will not be taken seriously in that sense that, well, that's Lane, he doesn't stay anywhere and he'll leave. And if you're the University of Miami, you have to feel like that spouse that met that person under the wrong circumstances, and you wonder if those bad circumstances ever happen again, will it burn you? And so if you're the University of Miami, do you really want Lane Kiffin? Okay, yeah, you want him because he knows offenses. He can recruit. He's done well at FAU, and now he's done well at Ole Miss. Got a top-notch quarterback and everything there at Ole Miss. Okay, so obviously the guy can make things happen, but he also is not reliable in that sense because you don't know if 2 years from now, what if, I'll give you a scenario. What if Nick Saban decides to retire and Alabama wants to look for a coach? Do you think Alabama's going to come knocking for Lane Kiffin? Is there a possibility? There's a possibility. And do you think Lane Kiffin's not going to leave the University of Miami in a couple of years to go there? Yeah. So you have to feel like, okay, if you're hiring Lane, is he the guy that's coming here to stay here? Okay? And I know Andy does a great job. He breaks a bunch of stories. He's really, developed a really nice niche in breaking stories, and he's got a nice hookup, obviously, with the cops. So he gets a lot of the arrests and things like that. So he's done a nice job with the breaking story stuff. But that doesn't mean whether it's him or anybody in this business doesn't get used. And to me, that scenario smelled like a agent throwing BS out there because he knows that his guy will obviously draw the interest and that he can then draw more money out of Ole Miss. And Ole Miss will gladly give him the blank check. You know what I'm saying? Looks like the water's coming in a little too sideways now. It stopped a little bit now. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of a spray here. So anyway, I don't know if we can cover the mixer. You know, it would be nice if somehow or another. See if they've got something inside, like a hefty bag or something that we can, break up and put it on top here. So at least we can save the broadcast. Anyway, so to me, that story smelled of bait, and they use somebody to get a story out, and that way they can wake up the people at Ole Miss and say, "Yeah, I know he's got a couple years left, but you may want to rework this deal and add a little more sauce to it." And I think that's what's happening in the end when it's all said and done, because you also have to think about it. As much as a lot of us have talked about Lane, that may not be the guy you want to actually, if you're the University of Miami, you've had a major problem for decades now. You know what that is? You can't find a coach to stay. That's a problem. You can't find a coach to stay. So if you can't find a coach to stay, that's an issue, dude. And you'd like to get somebody that can stay. Are you sure that if you hire Lane Kiffin, he's going to stay? I mean, that part you got to ask yourself, right? That if think about that one, because I don't think people think about those kind of things. Because he's really not the guy that's going to stay there loyal to you. He hasn't proven that. And if he's willing to leave Ole Miss, then he's willing to leave the University of Miami too, at one point or another. I'm just saying. So I just think I think somebody got kind of used to get a story out there and to kind of stir it up. But I don't believe Lane Kiffin will take this job, because it might be detrimental to his reputation to take this job, because then it'll prove that, you know what? Everybody thought we all knew he was going to leave FAU. We all knew that he was just building back up the resume at FAU to take off and go to somewhere else. And well, okay, Ole Miss could be a destination place. It's in the SEC. They've got opportunities to recruit great players, and they have all the resources. So what more do you need? You're actually rolling the dice going to the University of Miami, because you don't know if they're truly committed all the way through. So there you go. I'm just saying.